I was first introduced to plantain as a medicine many years ago when we visited a friend at a reenactment camp. Whilst the majority were off fighting or reenacting some war of old, I sat mesmerised by the camp's healer or medicine woman, and she told me, among other things, about the values of plantain in all things skin related, whether it's bites or itches or grazes or sores. Plantain is the wonder healer. Now, to get plantain or a leaf into a salve, you need to create a little bit of alchemy first. You need to be mixing a fat, and I'm using olive oil, with a wax, and I'm using beeswax. Now, traditionally the fat would have been tallow, which is the fat from either beef or mutton, and I can only imagine how bad that would have smelt. So even if you're not that keen on the scent of olive oil, then trust me, it's going to be 100 times better than having a salve made of tallow. And obviously, if you'd like your salve to smell a little bit nicer, then feel free to add a few drops of your favourite essential oil. So let me pass on those skills I learned that day, and hopefully you guys will give it a go too. If you do, please let me know how you get on. This is ribwort or narrowleaf plantain. It grows all over our farm, and in the gravel paths and lawns you'll find short, stumpy little plants. But where the grass is allowed to grow long, like in this wildflower meadow, the plantain leaves can get really big.
Sleep in your arms. I used to be afraid to fall in love. My past relationship was a disaster, but now I don't care. 'Cause you took.
As with all harvesting of wild plants, be sure to leave at least half of the leaves on each plant you forage. You don't know what other critters depend on plantain for food or for medicine, and you really won't have to look far to find another plant, so don't worry.
Don't feel broken anymore. Still got your smell wrapped in my bed sheets. Don't wanna wash it away. I know sometimes I get too caught up in all of the wrong things, but you're always there to guide me. I used to be afraid to fall in love. A past relationship was a disaster, but now I don't care. 'Cause you took my scars, bruises and broken heart, numbed all the pain, show me how to heal, and now I don't feel broken anymore. I used to be afraid until I met you. I was insecure. Caught up in.
When I'm running a plant through the dehydrator, I don't really want to wash it and therefore add more water unless it's really dirty. And in this case, the leaves are pretty strong, so I was easily able to wipe off any debris with a clean damp cloth.
Broken heart, numbed all the pain, show me how to heal, and now I don't feel broken anymore.
So here I'm getting ready to run the leaves through the dehydrator. Lay them out on the shelves and try to make sure that they don't touch or certainly don't overlap. I keep the temperature really low on the dehydrator when I'm drying leaves or flowers at around 35 degrees Celsius, which I believe is 95 Fahrenheit. If you have the temperature any higher than that, then you do risk burning your plant material. Now, if you don't have a dehydrator, you can hang up bunches of the leaves in a warm, airy place. Just make sure it's out of direct sunlight. Or you can also dry them in the oven. Simply lay them out on wire cooling racks and place the racks on your oven shelves. Set the oven temperature as low as possible and prop the door open with a wooden spoon or similar. This just allows any moisture or steam to kind of escape, and it will really help them dry out. Now honestly, I'm not entirely sure how economical it would be to use an oven this way, because you will need to have the oven on for several hours to get these leaves dry. So if you have any interest in growing and preserving your own food and medicine and herbs, I would really recommend investing in a dehydrator when you can. In my experience, square dehydrators are much better than round ones. They're just much more space efficient, and be sure that you get one with a temperature control on. I can leave a link to the one that I'm using below if you like. When the leaves are crispy dry, crumble them up and place them into a clean canning jar. Pour over the olive oil, giving a little stir to remove any air bubbles. Then place the jar in a pan with 2 or 3 inches of cold water. Gently heat the water up until it's lightly simmering, and then set the timer for 2 hours. Now you do need to keep an eye on the pan, so please don't go off out and meet a friend or anything. You want to make sure that that water level doesn't drop too much. Just keep topping it up with a kettle if necessary. When the oil is ready, pour the oil and the leaves into a sieve lined with clean muslin. When it's cool enough to handle, you can wring all the oil out of the plantain and try and save every single drop. As a side note, I don't put herbs like this that have been soaked in oil into the compost because I find that it attracts rats. So unfortunately this bit has to go in the bin. Alrighty, your plantain infused oil is ready to go. So to turn an oil into a salve, as I said, we need to add a wax. There are various options, some of which are vegan, but I'm using an organic beeswax. I do recommend getting these little beeswax beads rather than the bars of solid wax, as they're so much easier to work with. They also create less mess and they help you to be more precise. You'll also need a clean jar or pan, something that you're happy to keep for this job, as it will become a nightmare to clean that wax off. Now I use this jar for all my salves, and believe it or not, this is clean. It's even been through the dishwasher. It's just that beeswax really doesn't want to come off. So zero out your kitchen scales and pour in 100 grams of plantain oil, then carefully add 15 grams of the beeswax beads. Place the jar back into the pan of hot water and gently heat until all the beeswax is melted. Then finally, pour the liquid salve into clean jars or tins. I used to use an old jam jar for this, but recently bought these cute little tins on Amazon, which make it really easy to gift the little pots away to family and friends. And there we go, job done. Now, don't worry if you didn't get all that. I'm going to leave a link below to the blog post that accompanies this video, where you'll see a step-by-step on how to make this whole entire process. And there's a few other hints and tips as well that you might find useful if you decide to give this recipe a go. And whilst it may look like a lot of hassle going through this entire process, it really feels like you're kind of tapping into the alchemy of our ancestors by making such a gentle, natural medicine that your whole family, including your pets, will come to benefit from. So thank you for hanging out with me today. As always, it's been a pleasure to bring you this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you whacked the thumbs up button, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That's it for today, lovely people. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Take care.